Hey, welcome on to the channel, everybody. Tobin here with you, and thank you for stopping on by. If you guys want to subscribe, that'd be swell. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You guys know the YouTube deal by this point. Also, you guys can check out the Tobin and Leroy show weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the 104.3 FM WQAM YouTube page. That is 104.3 WQAM. That is our handle and channel. You guys can watch us there live every single weekday. Joe Rose streams live every single weekday now. Hockman and Crowder, maybe one day we'll stream live, but for right now, they're putting up clips. And it's a great time, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you guys can stop on by. We're also on Twitch, trying to expand it to other avenues as well. So we'll see where that all goes. But appreciate everybody. We're also available on your podcast platform. So go give Tobin and Leroy a subscription there as well, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we got some Dolphins news. Dolphins news aplenty as they're trying to round out the roster. We're going to this final preseason week. One other QAM note, if you guys want to check out a little preseason pregame coverage, myself, Alejandro Solana, we are on from 4 p.m. We're actually going up to 3 hours this week to lead you up to the final preseason game. So tune on in there on Saturday afternoon at 4, and that is when you will be able to check us out. As the Dolphins are going to have joint practice this week. They just had basically a walkthrough on Tuesday. There wasn't much to see. They closed it to the public. No Tyreek Hill today. All right. No Devon Achane. All right. You know, and so those injuries still there. Darren Waller still not out there. All right. But I'm sure the Dolphins fixed their cornerback situation. Are they headed for disaster here? This is what I'm a little bit worried about. I guess the easy answer is yes. We probably should have known this as soon as the Jalen Ramsey thing happened. They put as much a Band-Aid on it as you could, right? Because we were probably headed for that kind of disaster in the safety room, and at least you got Minkah Fitzpatrick. You know, maybe not in the prime, but still a guy everybody's going to look to as a leader, still a guy who can produce, still a guy who can make plays on the ball. But boy, the Dolphins seem like they are snake bit right now when it comes to cornerback. Ethan Bonner's going to be out now for a period of time. He did the nasty hamstring shuffle, and you know that didn't look like it was going to come back for a guy who has to run backwards for a living. So can't imagine that's great for him. Today there was a little smoke bomb that Asante Samuel Jr. was visiting with the Miami Dolphins, and even Asante Samuel's Papa Samuel, the senior, he retweeted it. It was like, let's go. And I was like, oh, are we going? And mind you, this was we're a month removed for Asante Samuel Sr. saying that Mike McDaniel and is gutless and Chris Greer has no backbone, something to that regard. They weren't very flattering terms from Papa Samuel, but either way, I guess that turned out to be untrue. And instead, the Dolphins did have a bevy of cornerbacks that they brought in today, and they decided that they are signing Cameron Dantzler Sr., who last year spent it with the UFL's Memphis Showboats. Yes, The Rock's UFL, the wrestler. Former Miami Hurricane, though. The Rock's UFL, the crossover XFL league, the Memphis Showboats. He also spent time, I believe, is the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Wasn't that Talia's team, Talia Tungavailoa? Hamilton Tiger Cats, a CFL team. So he's been out of the league. He's been out of the league since 2023. Drafted by the Vikings, played 3 years there, made some plays, playing time got diminished. He made a stink, didn't end, I guess, fantastic, bounced around on some teams, and here we are. The Miami Dolphins are signing a guy who last year played for the Memphis Showboats. But you want to know something? Listen, you guys may be concerned about the fact that the Dolphins are signing guys from the Rocks Football League, but they aren't. The Dolphins, Chris Greer, it's going swimmingly, dude. Trust me. They're sitting back. They're laughing at the concerns right now. Mike McDaniel tried to spin this thing so hard yesterday. I was furious listening to him because he sat here, not because of what he was saying, how long he was just giving us garbledygook of just how much it's all on technique and fundamentals, and that's why he has belief in these guys. And look, I get that that's Mike McDaniel's deal. He can't hose anybody down. That's the vibe. The vibe is let's be positive. Let's be a bunch of ostriches. Let's put our head in the sand at sometimes. That's just kind of the vibe with him, right? But not only was this a concern going into the season, it's been a even bigger concern since the season has started, because the Dolphins aren't just in a position where they were already concerned when you had Kader Kohu, when you had Artie Burns, when you had a healthy Ethan Bonner. Now those three guys two of them are done for the year. One of them is done for I don't know how long. And you have a decision to make where it's okay, who are going to be the six guys that you choose when this thing is all done? Who are going to be the guys that make this happen? And you would peer Storm Duck, okay? Jason Marshall's getting a lot of praise. Mike Hilton's getting a lot of praise. You would think them. And then what? You have now Dantzler, Bonner, who's I don't know if he's going to start the season on IR. Isaiah Johnson, who was kind of getting some buzz last year, but he's playing with Cam Smith. Are they rats off a ship on Cam Smith? Do they go with Jack Jones, who everybody says is talented, but can be, maybe a bit of a head case at times? I don't know. I don't have the answer to this, but I don't feel like any of these options are good. Am I crazy? I'm even looking at this. I was watching the end of that preseason game, and I'm like, Cam Smith's playing kind of good, right? But he's playing at the end of the second preseason game where it was nothing but backups. So I don't know obviously the faith can't be that great. Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver have talked him up, and Anthony Weaver said today on Cam Smith, what did you see from cornerback Cam Smith in that game? He says, you got to love that, right? I think you saw some physicality, particularly the play he made on 3rd and 1. I did like that play. That's one of those things you know about Cam. He has ability to coverage. His movement skills are elite. The thing you worry about is his physicality when tackling, and when he's been challenged with that, he showed up. Hopefully, that gives us confidence and we see continued growth there. It was impossible for that not to pop. You're like, oh, all right. Because, what's the knock been? He's been a little bit fragile, right? He's been fragile, his confidence. They've used the word confidence with him, rattled a lot. So, I don't know. Look, I get it. This policy of the team. They did this with the offensive line. Everybody saw what was obvious, but they didn't want to say it. And certainly, will the Dolphins be able to get by with what they got from a defensive front? You hope so. A lot, you got a monster defensive tackle in Zach Sealer. I think Kenneth Grant's looked very impressive. I think the other rookies have looked very impressive. I'm a little still worried about the Judon thing. Not so much that they brought him in, but I'm just like, well, what does that speak? Are they going to limit snaps? That's a possibility too, that they're gonna bring the reins back a little bit on Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, and that this is thought of as a way to kind of diversify that. But it's hard not to just be feeling a little uneasy about this thing, because I just don't know what is have the Dolphins had one thing happen for them in the midst of all of this that has eased any concern about the cornerback spot, and I would probably say no. Storm Duck is being thrust into this spot where I don't think anybody imagined him being. And it's a tough go right now. It is a tough go, and it is one of those things that's going to make you absolutely nervous. And look, you're going to start off the year with, Daniel Jones. They're facing Daniel Jones, which, all right, it's not like you're going up against the elite of the elite. Then you got Drake May, but then you have, the showdown of all showdowns with Josh Allen, and we'll see what that's going to be for the Dolphins, right? They did announce that Jake Bailey won the punting job, so give it up. Got those laces out. Shout out, dude. He got that done. And, we'll see, man. But maybe we'll get some more. It'd be interesting this week because you got, I'm sure a lot of buzz is going to be around what Travis Hunter is going to do in these joint practices. And obviously they got him as a talent. They got, and they got Brian Thomas, who's, an absolute stud for the Jaguars as well. So these Jaguars are coming in now. Their quarterback is a tad overrated, but certainly he's got some fun weapons to play with, and that'll be an interesting test here in the final joint practice, and then we'll see what it leads to as far as the final preseason game is concerned. But to be in a spot where you're kind of like hoping Cam Smith figures it out, like that's the spot where I'm at right now. I'm like, I hope the kid figures it out. And if there can be some kind of redemption arc for everybody who is writing him off by the end of this, I think that's probably the best case out of all this. Is like, all right, no shot you trust him, but now you're in a spot where you have to trust him, and can he reward that trust? But I don't know, like signing dudes, and I guess, Barry Jackson was saying that on he was hinting that an older cornerback was like, let's see. He said the Dolphins seem like they're taking flyer on former mid-round cornerbacks who started early in their careers, but have had modest roles recently. As for older players, there's one highly accomplished older cornerback coming off of injury who the Fins would love to sign. We were reminded again today. The Dolphins, as for now, invest in youth and no-risk flyer players like Dantzler. An accomplished player prefers not to be made public. There's not much there. There's obviously a reason Asante Samuel, off a serious knee injury, hasn't been visiting Miami or anywhere else in the past month. The Dolphins have made previous orders to Russell Douglas. I am assuming he's talking about Stephon Gilmore. That's kind of like, if you're talking about all the names that are there, I guess like that feels, I'm guessing that's where he's going with him. He's very old now. So we'll see how this all ends up, but not much has happened to, I think, ease the tension of everybody as of late.